What was the moment you realized the person you are talking to is actually a complete idiot? When my former coworker said that she doesn't wear a seatbelt, even though she drives 95 to 100 miles per hour, because she wants to be able to escape her car when, not if, but when, she crashes and it catches on fire. I kindly informed her that at the speed she likes to drive, she will absolutely not have to worry about being trapped in a burning car. College roommate told me with confidence that there would be less cars in DC after the Clinton inauguration. I asked why, because it didn't make sense, and she said, in all honesty, because he's going to eliminate congressional gridlock. She thought congressional gridlock was a traffic problem. I still shake my head when I think of her. There were others, but that was the moment I remember most. Had a young woman angrily complain to me at a copy shop that we had caused her to miss her midterm, and that we would need to explain that to her professor. Confused, I asked how we had done this. She had been working in self-serve, and I hadn't seen her interacting with any of the employees. She pointed at our clock on the wall and said that, when I pushed for an explanation, she said that our clocks weren't digital, and she could only read digital clocks, so she had missed her test. The fact that our clocks had the standard big hand, little hand was apparently too much for her. Good thing they didn't also have Roman numerals. Note that this was in the mid-90s, before every person had a phone in their pocket. I had a big stupid bodybuilder in my gym. I suggested that he did a training exercise that we used to do. Basically 10 minutes of leg pressing. Pick a decent heavy weight, in this case 250 kilograms, and when the second hand of the clock, that was right in front of the machine, was at the 12 you would start ripping. Typically we'd break it into 1-minute intervals with maybe the occasional 90-second session. After every set you'd write down your accumulated time. If you completed the 10 minutes of work in less than 7 visits, then the weight was too light. BSB did his first set and was hammering himself so hard his first visit was 2 minutes 30 seconds. Turns out not only could he not tell the time, he didn't know what the little fast red hand was or knew what a second was. When asked, he thought it would take a minute to walk the length of the room. He also thought Abraham Lincoln invented toilets and Hitler was in charge of Britain during WW2. When my co-worker I was talking to said, "Yay, space is a conspiracy made up by the government." Okay, so at night, when you go outside, what is it you're seeing when you look up? IDK, that's like a projection. How would they project something like that? Like, where is the projector? How am I supposed to know? Probably one of the dumbest people I've ever met. She also told me she read a book. When I asked her what it was about, out of interest to see if I wanted to read it, she said she actually didn't exactly read it, but she looked at the front cover and knew what it was about. On a lunch date, this dude I'd seen a few times was eagerly telling me that he won the Publishers Clearinghouse. He said they called him on the phone a few months ago and had told him he won, and over the last few months he was just doing all the paperwork over the phone. He said he was giving them his bank information to deposit the money into it, all his stuff to prove who he was, and was even setting up a will so if something happens to him the money would go to his kids. All he had to do was give all their info too. I was kinda too shocked by the stupidity to respond at first, but eventually I told him it was a scam. He swore it wasn't, refused to believe me that this was not how Publishers Clearinghouse worked. At that point people are starting to listen in on our conversation, quietly laughing at how dumb he is. Then he said he plans to open a backpack and accessory store with the money, and that it will be big because he will sell everything for cheaper than he buys it for, but will have so many customers since it's so cheap that it would make bank. I started looking around the restaurant, wondering just how many people saw me there with this idiot. I was on the idiot end of this. My ex told me to grab some iceberg lettuce, so I went to the bagged lettuces and couldn't find any iceberg lettuce. So I told her I couldn't find it, and she pointed to a head of lettuce and said, "It's right there." I said, "No, that's just regular lettuce." The look she gave me was like I was the stupidest person in the world. We got into an argument about it and took it to Facebook to take a poll. Somewhere between "Are you serious?" and "You're kidding right?" is where I conceded that I'm in fact an idiot. I always thought iceberg lettuce was like a special blend, like the bagged lettuce with multicolors and carrots and shit. All of these came from the same friend of mine. Brown is the presence of all color, because he smeared all his colors of paints together and got a dirty brown color. Explaining that white light breaks into the rainbow and thus possesses all colors didn't get anywhere. He explained has never heard of white light, so it's not relevant. He still believes white is the absence of all color because, well, look at it, no color. I made a comment one time about cold butter being hard to spread. He argued that it's not. He backed this claim up by presenting a tub of country crock margarine. I tried to explain it's just oil. He got mad enough to tell me to leave his house. This last one isn't the last one, but it's the last I'm going to write. He explained to me one time that he didn't eat bagels because bagels were for women, and if he ate one, that would make him gay. I didn't ask. I feared for my sanity and let it be. When she said I guess that's just how things were back then. This was in reference to Game of Thrones and its graphic display of sex/incest/etc. and how the show was unwatchable with parents who'd ask you to explain the 3 seasons aired prior. She thought it was an historical drama with an accurate display of human interactions. And dragons? She was a math smart girl, but couldn't get it together. Also had to explain to her that St. Patrick's Day doesn't change dates every year like Easter does. Anyway, I've been in California for 10 years now, and I have few reasons to trust the public education system. Edit. There's a lot of to be fair in the comments. To be fair, if you think the full plot of Game of Thrones actually occurred in our planet's history and is not a piece of fiction, you're an idiot. She also liked season 8. Talking to a plumber, subcontracted to fix water damage through insurance. Water damage to a basement bathroom was so severe, everything had to be replaced, except the tub/shower liner. The ceiling was boarded and speckled, not a T-bar ceiling. I'm standing with him in the basement bathroom, looking up at where the ceiling had already been torn out, at the joint in the standard 1½ inches drain pipe that runs in the ceiling, to another sink upstairs, had actually cracked, and not just separated, causing all of the damage. He says it'll probably be fine if I just smear some silicone on the outside of it. I laughed, thinking he was giving me a hard time. I said you most certainly will not, jokingly. He says oh yeah, I guess I should replace that joint, put a coupler. Yeah. I'm thinking this guy's a certified plumber. If I wasn't there at that moment, by luck, he just cost an insurance company, I dunno, maybe 30 grand. And put the people out of their bathroom for another 2 months with trades in, and out of their house maybe 8 months to 5 years down the road, instead of doing 5 minutes of work. That's the moment I realized that the person I was talking to was a complete idiot. I was talking business with my partner's family over holidays. One of their uncles is going on and on about how Company X can't possibly be profitable, specifically Program Y. I say pretty mildly that I'm pretty confident that Company X and Program Y are doing fine. The uncle rallies on how there's no way it's profitable due to concerns that don't apply to Company X and Program Y. I reiterate that I'm pretty confident that Company X and Program Y are doing just fine. To which uncle asks, but how can any of us know? My response simply being, I literally work for Company X on Program Y and feel quite confident it's doing fine. The uncle went to rally before their spouse shut them up. This human was an MD and was still so entrenched in blind belief they couldn't consider that someone would know better than them. It was funny and horrifying. I have a few from my customer service days. These ones are from what I can remember in the moment. Excuse me, how many are in this 3-pack? Yes, hello, UHM, do you speak English? Nodding slowly. Both were older white women who probably don't work, or very little if they do. I also had to convince a guy the other day not use a torch to remove his weeds, because nothing else was working. To be clear, I live in the desert where weeds virtually explode when caught on fire. This dude in no way looked like someone who could pull off a controlled burn, let alone in a Hoa community. I was explaining to a coworker that I couldn't do much outside of work because I had another job on the side, took college classes, and trying to pay off loans in addition to some car payments, and helping out my mom and grandma. She asked how all that stopped me from doing certain hobbies, and the answer is simple. I simply didn't make enough money to fuel the things I wanted to, or pay off things quicker, buy gifts I wanted, etc. I kid you not, her reply was along the lines of, But that can't be right. You get paid more than me. You're a man. Okay, so first of all, that's not how it works. I told how much I was making, $10.22 at the time, and she wouldn't reciprocate because it was illegal to discuss wages with coworkers. After convincing not to give a shit about that for 2 seconds, she proceeded to hesitantly reveal that she had been making $12 and some change. She had less experience than me, was a little younger, still in high school, and got hired several months after I had been working, still got paid more, yet still proceeded to insist I had such a male privilege and that I was on the beneficial end of the wage gap. There wasn't enough time scheduled in my entire time working at the store to explain everything wrong with her thought process.